I'm not going to, I told Snape early morning. After yesterday, he had no patience with me. It showed in his lips that had not stopped curling since we woke, but I could be stubborn too. He might have cornered me in the bathroom, the tub already filled to the brim with steaming water, but there was no way I was going to set foot in it. I've done a good job so far avoiding looking at this body and was not planning on changing that any time soon. I've decided I can rot. It will be fine. I read something somewhere about a man that hadn't washed in 10 years. That should just about give me enough time, and when next I saw Percy I will ask him exactly what spells he could do. Rumour had it JKR used to say that wizardkind vanished their poop where they stood, or something the toilet paper rolls stacked on the shelf to our left proved her wrong, so it stood to reason there was some magical way to bath too. Why are you being such a child? Snape's exasperated voice broke through my thoughts. I'm not going to stand here and watch you do it. Just get into the tub and wash yourself, he trailed off, considering me with sharp eyes. This has something to do with you standing in front of the mirror that night, right? No, Dad. No, Dad. Daddy or father. Choose one and start to use it, but you will not just say no to me while you are this size. It sounds horribly rude coming from a toddler's mouth. Next we'll have the whole school following you. He gave me a flat, angry look. Or tell me the formula and let us be done with this farce. I tucked my hands into my armpits. My deepest apologies, Severus, but I will not do either. I had no time to scream. The bloody man took me, clothes and all, and dumped me into the tub. It's fair to tell you I screamed then, though, and loud enough to raise the roof. Somewhere in the background, Snape swore viciously, and the next moment the tub filled with bubbles up to my nose. Happy now? You can't see a thing, Evanesco. My clothes vanished. It was the oddest feeling. Minerva's transfigured nightdress, shorts, socks, all gone in an instant. I grabbed for them, but only felt the slick skin that I had avoided for days now, and yelled again, splashing water to the floor. We don't have time for this. Albus, a cloth fell into the foam in front of my face, and his finger swept out to point at a set of crystal decanters on the far rim. No plastic pollution in Wizarding World. Soap. Shampoo. You have 5 minutes to get going, or I will come and bath you myself. The choice is yours. You said you would stop yelling at me. Stop being such a baby, he shouted back and slammed out of the bathroom. I hated him. I hated him so hard that for a moment I completely blanked on the thought. The steam fogged up my glasses. The water was too hot, and there was no escape. It reached well up to my chin. I felt like I was being boiled alive. His threat had me grit my teeth against the heat and the impending tears to grab the nearest decanter. Of course it was bloody heavy crystal that slipped through my pudgy fingers. What else could I expect? This was my life now. Not to do things just half. The corner hit my chest as it plunged into the bubble-topped water, and I sucked in a sob. Crying now, I'm sorry, that damn thing had hurt. I had to actually swim for it, dipping down past bubbles that burst against my glasses, submerging half my face into the hot water to reach, tiny bubbles foaming up my nose. It smelled like lemons. I gagged. Leaving the decanter to God to sort, I surged up and away from the olfactory attack, water sloshing everywhere. There was no more thought about this being a child's body that I did not want to see. There was only a cauldron tipping over my head, and I could taste the curd. As a kid, my siblings and I loved bubble baths, not just for the fun of making Santa beards and cone-topped heads, but the added bonus was its slippery goodness that turned the bath into a slide. There was nothing fun about slipping feet and plunging unsuspecting into an overfilled tub, steamy water flooding your nose in a burn that seared the lining and filled the sinuses, sloshing over your head, into your ears and eyes and mouth. I know I screamed. I know I kicked and grabbed for the sides, submerging once, twice, I don't know how many times, swallowing and gagging before hands grabbed me out of the cauldron. Air hit my raw throat in a burst of yet more pain, and I coughed and cried and flailed blindly at the arms that held me too tight. I woke up in the infirmary, tucked into a feather-soft bed. Every part of my body ached. My head throbbed, my chest hurt, my nose, even breathing, was a pain. Close by Minerva was berating a white-faced Snape, their features too blurry to make out, but there was no mistaking her voice, low and furious. I could hear snippets, child endangerment, irresponsible, I should never have given him to you. Through it all he did not offer one word to defend himself. Minerva, I croaked. It was not his fault. I must be going mad. Albus, I will call Poppy. The two women fussed over me, spells were cast, and a grassy-tasting potion removed the aches and pains as if it never were. All the while Snape stood behind them, mutely rooted to his spot and visibly ignored by both women. I could not let them fight over me. I needed them to be a united front against what was to come. That was why, when Minerva asked what I meant with it not being Severus's fault, I lied through my teeth, knowing full well it would come to bite me in the ass probably sooner rather than later. I struggled up. Severus saved me. He is not to blame for any of it. I told him I'd been taking baths my whole life, and certainly did not need anyone's help. That sounded like something their Albus might say. No. My apologies for the fuss. Minerva, I might have overestimated my abilities somewhat. Somewhat? Albus? Her scolding was epic. I think Snape took notes. Poppy moved off quite disappointed in me and left her to it. I bore it. I certainly wanted to cry when she took my whole personality apart, trying to figure out why I was unable to act sensibly and ask for help, bringing up examples from Dumbledore's life that I had no clue of but managed to feel guilty about anyway. There was some invective about the great Albus that always knew better. That was probably just her blowing off steam, but even so pierced my little baby heart. I was pinching my leg under the blanket not to burst into a sobbing mess and met Severus's impassive eyes over her shoulder. I hated him. I bore it because I was not going to let him see me fall apart from a mere scolding. When I couldn't manage any more, I interrupted her, pretending my voice did not waver. I apologize, Minerva. I will do my best to be more responsible from now on. I should certainly hope so, Albus. Yes, quite. Have we missed breakfast then? Do we not have children to teach today? That woman, I took a steadying breath when she had gone. She's a menace. Quite, Snape said, echoing my earlier words. Why did you take the blame? It was more my fault than yours. He made to put my glasses on my face, but I snatched it off him and smacked his hands away. Don't touch me. He took a step back and took stock of me. Albus, I would like to apo. In future, you will not touch me without my permission. You will not pick me up or manhandle me to do anything I don't want to. Don't forget yourself, Severus Snape. I am still your headmaster. He paused, straightened his back and gave me a small nod, his face unreadable. You will still need to call me Dad. I will do so when I need to. Where is my clothes? Poppy tried to keep me in bed, but Snape stood by me when I said no. With all the fuss, we still had enough time to go down for breakfast before classes started. Despite the pain-relieving potion, I felt exhausted, and the walk tired me even more, but where yesterday Snape might have picked me up, he now just slowed his steps. I picked at breakfast, finding it difficult to swallow the soft porridge, and was glad enough to go back to our rooms when Snape declared us finished. Friday. The Gryffindor and Slytherin first years had double potions in the morning that started at 9. I fully intended to go to my bed and sleep the day away, leaving him to it, but Snape had other ideas. No, you'll sit in the classroom where I can keep an eye on you. I've had enough of your adventures to last me the year. What happened to not telling me what to do? How quickly you forget, nearly drowning me. If I hadn't taken the blame, Minerva would still be shouting at you, Severus. I did not ask you to lie to Minerva. Enough. I made a mistake, and one that will not be repeated. Don't equate that with you deliberately hiding away a whole day, doing God knows what, knowing full well we would be searching and worried out of our minds. You're still grounded. Albus and I don't trust you not to disappear. Now was not the time to tell him that the thought of them searching hadn't crossed my mind, what not them worrying. That's idiotic, I hissed instead, balling my tiny fists. I won't stand for it. You're still grounded, and if you have any complaints about it, you may take it up with Minerva. Minerva would definitely not be open to hearing anything from me right now. I was going to rue taking the blame faster than I had thought. We were having a standoff. Outside, the voices of students gathering sounded, and inside he was pointing me to his desk and chair. You're not very nice, I said, and it sounded much more childish than it did in my head. If I may, Albus, when had I ever pretended to be nice? Nice wizards don't get anywhere in life. If you say so. Nice gets stepped on. Let's go. Sit. I sat. Seems he had no need to manhandle me anyway, he just needed to play the Minerva card. I clambered onto his chair, ignoring his triumphant smirk. Only when I was fully seated did he turn to open the classroom door, and the firsties trooped in all wide-eyed and hesitant. I figured the rumour mill had been at work there, possibly with some bat analogies. They didn't know where to look, at Snape, me, or the open door to his stockroom, where a myriad of eyes were twisting about in their brine like schools of fish, peeking right back at them. I was just tall enough that if I stretched I could cross my arms on the desk and set my chin on them. From that vantage point I joined the iconic first class. Fine, it seemed I was going to have a potions lesson. The dream of every Harry Potter fan ever. Snape started the lesson by taking roll call, giving me a good opportunity to learn some faces. They all looked so young. He didn't stop on Harry's name but moved over fluidly to the next, and the kid's tense shoulders sagged visibly. At the desk I blew a sigh of relief myself. Maybe this might not be so bad. He started his monologue, "You are here to learn the subtle science of ... I sat up, perking my ears in excitement. This was it. His soft voice enthralled his listeners, and the kids were staring mesmerized as he stalked past their desks. There would be no foolish wand waving. Bewitch the mind, delicate power, it was beautiful. Snape turned in a swirl of robes for the finale, even stop a death. I clapped. Holy fuckeroli, for once JKR had nailed it word for word, and the speech was everything she had promised. Oh hey, newsflash, baby lips produced just spit when you tried to whistle. Snape turned around in slow motion, and when the kids started clapping with me I wished for a camera. Oh, how I missed the internet. If I could just have a picture of his face I could make a meme. Evade. I slithered off the chair and in under the desk. Enough, he barked at the students. We are not in a theatre. Stop this noise and open your textbooks. He reached down to pluck me out of my hiding spot and dumped me back onto the chair. Seems not touching me had gone right out of the window. It hadn't even been an hour on page 12. You will read the safety rules at the beginning of each lesson until you have memorized it. You have 5 minutes. Before I test you, I suggest you hurry up. He said all this without sparing them a glance. That was new. He should be shouting questions at Harry. Now, not standing with his back to the class, glaring at me. What was that? Oh God, I was going to laugh in his face. I'm sorry, Daddy, but it was just so beautiful. More glaring effectively silenced my mirth. I'll just sit quietly, shall I? Do?
He peppered them with questions about safety precautions, where to find Bazor besides the stomach of a goat, also on his desk and in their individual kits. They had a double period, and it seemed he intended to take up the whole of the first just with that. The students were sitting to attention, furiously scribbling everything down, but I had nothing to do and soon found myself yawning. Another thing I learned that JKR had gotten right was Hermione. The girl found a reason to raise her hand every 2 minutes until Snape got tired of saying, "Yes, Miss Granger," and changed it to "That had better not be your hand I am seeing, Miss Granger." "Sorry," so she said, not sounding apologetic at all, "but your son is going to fall from the chair." A hand steadied me before that could come to pass. "Albus, can you walk to bed, or will you allow me to pick you up?" "Oh, now he asks." I raised my arms, too sleepy to do much more than that, and he picked me effortlessly up against his chest. For a thin man, he certainly wasn't weak, perhaps from hauling cauldrons about. I snuggled in and hoped I would drool on him, beautiful speech or not. He was not yet back in my favour, no. "I'll be away for 2 minutes," Snape said above me. I must be dreaming, for his next words were, "Put your hands on your heads and don't touch anything while I am gone." Sluggish, I tried to raise my hands, but he pushed them down. "Not you, Albus, the dunderheads that we call first years."